Over the years, Japan released about 2 dozen compilation LPs that you couldn't get anywhere else. They were unique to this country. And it struck me that in 1980 they actually released one of the very best that they'd ever done, and also the very worst in the same year, within the space of a few months of each other. And we're going to be talking about those two today. And regarding the second one that I'll be talking about, if you think that Colonel Tom Parker and RCA treated Elvis unfairly, then I've got a story related to that album that will certainly reinforce that opinion. But we'll begin by looking at what I think is probably the worst Japan-only compilation that they ever released on LP. And it's this one here. It's called Rock and Roll Years. This came out at the end of 1980. And I'll just take you through it first of all. The diagonal text on the front of the OB there, that says Wonderful Best. And Wonderful Best was a series of compilation LPs that came out around that time. On the back of the OB there, the blue writing at the top, that says Wonderful Best again. And then below all this text here, this is a list of albums that were released in the same series. The Elvis one is at the top, and then you've got Perry Como, Daryl Hall and John Oates, Scorpions, Barry White, and so on and so forth. There's about 10 albums there. The cover, first of all, the picture is okay, not a bad photograph itself, but it looks like it's been blown up. And if you look closely at the cover, you can see a lot of lines, horizontal lines going across the cover. And the Rock and Roll Years, the title here, it looks kind of cheap somehow, as though it looks like a picture taken from a video screen, or it looks like it's been photocopied and blown up. And on the back you can see it has the title again, which we already know of course, and then it has the song titles. There are 14 songs, and it's a good selection of songs. They're all 50 songs except Stuck on You and Such a Night. Unfortunately the 50 songs are all in reprocessed stereo, but that was standard for the time. The cover itself is actually a very thin card, and this was actually the first album to appear in this kind of very thin card since the 1960s. In the 1970s the albums had all been in very good quality thick card covers, and after this one almost all of them would appear in this same kind of thin card cover. It's not laminated. It's no worse than the covers that came with the records I was buying about the time this album was released in the late 70s, early 80s. You know, it's fairly standard for that particular time. It's just not particularly good though. So the record was RCA, like all Elvis's albums in Japan at that time, orange label RCA. And the only thing really that suggests business as usual was the insert that came with it. So on one side you've got the lyrics, and on the other side you've got a Japanese essay. Pretty good liner notes, and these were written by a man called Yoshiji Kizaki, and he wrote a lot of liner notes on Elvis albums over the years. And in fact, I'm thinking about doing a video on the Japanese liner notes and the people who wrote them, because for the most part they were actual, real Elvis fans who knew a lot about Elvis and really liked his music. On some albums you get liner notes written by people who only wrote one time for Elvis's albums, but usually they're people that wrote liner notes for several different albums, and they were genuine fans. So in the same year, 1980, the Japanese also brought out this Japan-only compilation. This is called By Request of Japanese Fans, and it's a 4 LP set full of 50 songs that were chosen by members of the Japanese Elvis fan club. I'll just show you what the set looks like first of all. The OB, as you can see, goes right around the back there, and it's not falling off because it actually folds under the box there. This is a really good quality box. What they've done right down the middle here, in order to strengthen the spine, there's like a piece of wood or plastic, I'm not sure what it is. It's under the binding to make sure that the spine in the center there, make sure that the spine stays strong. And the problem with this set is finding a clean one. This one's not too bad actually, and because it's a thick box, it's difficult to find a plastic cover to keep it in, so it's got a little bit of rubbing on the back there, but it's a nice clean box. And I'll show you what it came with. So it comes with a booklet here, and the booklet has the usual lyrics. It's actually got them in Japanese as well, which is unusual. There is a chronology of Elvis's life, lots of photos, most of the photos you've seen before, and then it has a lot of different essays in Japanese. Now each of the essays has a theme, different kind of music. So one is on religious songs, one is on love songs. They were written by the same person. And then you've got country songs and rock and roll songs, written by 2 other people. And then at the front you have the song listings and a paragraph here explaining how the album came about. Now that's an interesting story in itself. So, like I said, there are 50 songs on here on 4 LPs, and they were chosen by the Japanese fan club members, and the participants had to choose their favourite 30 Elvis songs in no particular order. They just submitted their favourite 30 Elvis songs. And the idea was that the 50 most popular would appear on this album. Now, they're actually in order. So the first song on side 1 is actually the most popular, or was the most popular Elvis song in Japan in 1980. And that song, the first song on side 1 is actually Can't Help Falling in Love. So I'll put the other songs on the screen. But there is an interesting story about the selections, and I noticed on the obi here it says that the song selections date from 1954 to 1973, and I thought that's a bit strange. Why does it stop there? And then I remembered something that happened about that time, and I wondered if it had something to do with that. And maybe you're already ahead of me on that, but I'll just explain what I'm talking about, because I found the answer out in this in the booklet here. On the inside cover, it tells you that in actual fact there were 5 more songs that were in the top 50, but they could not, RCA in Japan, they couldn't get permission from RCA in America to use those 5 songs. Now I'll tell you what those 5 songs are, and then maybe you can guess why they weren't allowed on the album. So the first one was Moody Blue, then there was My Boy and Hurt and I Love You So, and the last one was Unchained Melody. So you might have already guessed that all those songs were recorded after 1974. And as most of you will know, Colonel Tom signed a deal with RCA whereby he sold all of Elvis's rights to those songs. So he was not allowed to get any royalties for his pre-1973, 1974, I can't remember the exact date, but Elvis was no longer entitled to royalties on his back catalogue. So RCA in America said, yes, you can release this 50-song 4-LP set, but you cannot put those 5 songs in there, because those greedy so-and-sos didn't want to pay royalties to Elvis. So if we look at the last 5 songs, those 5 songs at the end of side 8, they were actually just outside the top 50. They would have been tracks 51 to 55, and they are A Fool Such As I, Until It's Time For You To Go, Fever, Welcome to My World, and An Evening Prayer. So those other 5 songs which I mentioned before, they should have been on this set, but they were not, because of those greedy fill-in-the-blanks at RCA. I'll just show you what the records look like. They obviously are on the orange RCA label, and they come in these fairly snazzy inner sleeves. It says RCA down here, and it's also got RCA, the manufacturer, on the back. So this whole set, it just really screams, you know, high quality, a lot of care taken over it. Really good set, and you can actually find this fairly cheaply now. The main difficulty is finding a clean one. Because of the climate here in Japan, the boxes tend to get some discoloration on the inside, and also the booklets do too. And of course it's a big heavy set, so if you're going to buy one from a seller in Japan, it will probably cost you quite a lot of money to have it shipped, but it's a very nice set. So there you go, in the same year they went from the sublime to the very ordinary. Well, that's it for today. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and as ever, leave a comment if you like. And thanks for watching, and take care.